Good afternoon, everyone. It is January 27th and mid-afternoon. We still have, it looks better on camera, but we basically have no snow. I've had this out on the lake. I have a lake just kind of off that way. And it's not a very good lake. It's got lots of air holes and lots of slush and stuff. But anyway, I was able to get out on it for about a good half hour or maybe 45 minutes today, just to do a bit of fuel tuning. And I think next year I'm going to get an air fuel ratio gauge and get it installed in this thing, or install it in this, because I've been tuning just via math, like calculations, and just looking at EGTs as an indicator of if I don't have enough fuel. The only killer thing with EGTs is if you're tuning, you shouldn't tune using EGTs. It's just not what you should rely solely on, and that's exhaust gas temperature. Because you can, for instance, if I'm running lean and I'm adding no fuel, I could probably have slightly higher exhaust gas temperatures than if I was running stock. So if I add a little bit of fuel, that'll bring that basically down to where they should be. But if I overshoot and add too much, it'll actually push the EGTs back up again, because there's unburnt fuel making it onto the probe, and then the probe is then burning. The fuel is burning right on the probe. So you get these like false high readings. And then like the more fuel you add, it might come down again, but it's just basically because you're jetted so damn fat, or you're configured so fat or so like rich that essentially you're like double doing it. Anyway, what I'm getting at is I started tuning with nothing and saw some elevated EGTs. Now on the E-Tech, the exhaust gas temperature that you get from the pipe is like, you'll scare yourself looking at it, because like I get transitory throttle like exhaust gas temperatures like 650 Celsius, which is like 1300 Fahrenheit. So I'm shooting for like 570 degrees Celsius EGT, sort of, when I'm on the fuel. It doesn't matter whatever throttle settings. I don't want to go above 600 if I can help it. But it's like the EGT sensors on this are pretty quick. And so when you're just doing those, you let off the throttle for a moment, it'll register that like momentary spike in EGT. It's just transitory. So anyway, I had this thing so rich that it was like bogging and hesitating, and then kind of backed her all off from there. And then I started from the lean side just to see if I could, fueling from this direction and fueling from this direction meet up at the same point. So, and again, tuning this is really easy. I'll show you how right now. So I'll start the sled up, and hopefully you can still hear my voice once I do that. So, and you'll be able to hear the sled too with the new engine and the stock exhaust. It basically sounds stock. So here we go. So as you can see, this just cycles through. And that's where we are on the program. So to program the actual fuel, you just press the mode button. This is low RPM, and I'm fueling on number 3, so I'm about 2%. And then if I hit it again, that's mid-range. I'm fueling at about 3%, a little over 3%. If I hit it again, that's high range, and I'm fueling the same there too. If I hit it past that, this gives me the cutoff points for the switchover points for each RPM range. So literally, to add fuel, like this low range, then you just add it or subtract it, whatever you want. It's really quite simple, right? Like, so, yeah. Very, very easy. I'll put this back to where it was. Then you just leave it until it goes back to the one green light. Bam, your program is locked in. That's it. That's where that lives. So very, very easy. make changes. And then on here, I've got my pipe temperature showing. That's at 20 degrees Celsius. And then the EGTM is the maximum pipe temperature. It saves it. So I can see what my pipe's running at the time and also what the maximum temp recorded was. And it's just a good, it's a good go, no go for your fueling. If you're like if you're part throttle and your EGTs are way up in the high 600s, well, you've got a problem, or you might have a problem. So again, these E-Techs, you kind of have to throw out some of that old school knowledge about like reading your plugs, and piston wash still is valid, but reading plugs doesn't tell you too much. And reading EGTs only, you can't really tune with it. It's mainly just to keep you out of trouble. Best thing for these is the air-fuel ratio gauge. But, you know, for this sled, all I need is 4%. So I'm dialed in at 2% on the low end, because the low end only goes to 2,700 RPM. And then the mid-range and high end, I've got the 4% fuel. So, yeah, it's going well, but you can see here, it basically sounds stock. Nothing different. Yeah, that's about it. So you probably want to know, do I feel a difference, or can I tell it's a, you know, bigger engine, is it more power? So what I've been telling people is, so I haven't like held it wide open for like long at all. So basically the way I describe it, or the way I would describe it, is that it feels like going from like a 600 to a 700, right? You know, or if you had one of the Skidoo 700s, then you move to the 800. It's like not earth shattering, but you can definitely tell there's more pull. Where I really notice it is when I hit soft slushy snow with the 800 and the same gearing. It used to, I used to lose quite a bit of track speed, but it was great for the trail. Same gearing now with this engine, I don't lose much track speed at all. And if I do lose any, it's just a slight tip of the throttle and this thing leaps ahead again. So what I'm finding is, it's like, there's definitely some more immediacy to it. So when you hit it, like, you know that you got something with a bit more power than the 800 under there. So it's got a lot of like mid-range torque, that mid-range pull, especially when you're rolling on the throttle. From idle, you don't notice too much, other than it just like the engine at lower RPM definitely feels less mushy than the 800 did. So you got a lot more torque down below as well. Mid-range has got gobs of torque, but it's nice. It's not like a race motor where, you know, you hit a certain RPM range and it just wants to go like balls to the wall. This one's just nice, linear, with a big fat like hit of torque right at the, like say, upper lower into the mid-range into the high end. You just get a nice big surge over what the 800 was. So like, it may not be worth it to some people to do this. I just did it because it was something fun and a cool project to do, and, you know, a bit of a challenge. But yeah, definitely seeing that the motor definitely has more power. Are there other 860 packages that are more potent? Yeah, I don't doubt that one bit. I had, if you were setting this one up for the mountain, it would be ported differently. It would be fueled differently. The head would be different. The squish would be different. So this was made right from the, from Dwayne at Powderfreaks. We worked together so that he ported this for it's basically all mid-range. Like, whatever happens at the top is great, but this is ported for, and the squish and the head and the compression and all that is all about that mid-range power where I use it. And I'm really satisfied with it. And I'm going to try to throw on some slightly taller gearing on this just to see if it'll pull it. But if it won't, then I'll just switch back. But no, very excited. I still have a couple things to do that I want to get done on this. And but to those of you who are curious, it's running excellent. I've not had a hiccup with it other than when I overfueled it a bit and it kind of bogged and hesitated. And then I backed the fueling off because I was starting from the rich end. So it was like really pig rich. And the E-Techs do not like to be pig rich. But yeah, excellent so far. Really loving it. I would love it even more if we had more freaking snow and there was trails open. But we're like halfway through the season now and there's nothing. Like I'm on the snowmobile club and we have no trails open. We only have 1 or 2 at limited status and they are not anything I would take this down. But yeah, so far loving it. And if anybody has any questions about anything, just throw a comment down and I'll do my best to answer it. All right. Hopefully everybody's having a wonderful weekend and we'll chat with you soon.